All right, we'd like to welcome everybody back to the Phenoms Part Deux, the league analysis. I'm going to start doing this in the essence of time today. I may combine it. I'll just do a recap, and then I'll move forward for this next week. There were some projections that I made last week. It wasn't perfect. Um, Sorry, I don't. Somebody called there. Wasn't a perfect projection. I actually went 3 for 2. But the solid games, game of the week. Last week I went over the teams. The game of the week was Tatanka Blanco, which is myself, and I was going against Nix in effect. His favorite player is Bo Nix for Denver, who, as we all know, after his NFL debut, pretty solid. I'm pretty sure I could throw uh, about the same as he did with my left hand, with and maybe get just a couple more completions if we're just really getting down into it. But game of the week though, it's Tonka Blanco versus Knicks in effect. The actual score was 126-68. I believe I projected it. I'm not going to remember all the projections, but I do remember this one. I thought that I would pull it out by 20. Real quick math. I won by I don't know 58 points. 50 if I don't know. I can't even do math. I can't even do math that high. I won by a lot, like a bunch. I mean, a bunch. Anyway, sorry I couldn't do math. It probably is 70. It was really a landslide. I can't even believe he showed up. His team was terrible. That nobody scored any points. I mean, it's just about like his draft and his favorite player, Knicks. Just terrible day. Next was Wrecking Crew versus Metcalf or Pitts. As we've constantly said, Wrecking Crew's Cody. Rusty is Metcalf or Pitts. Terrible name, terrible fantasy player. I projected a landslide. The score ended up being 105-104, which is actually awesome. It's just solid gameplay all the way around by Wrecking Crew. Metcalf or Pitts was really struggling there, and things weren't good. Cody, he thought it could possibly be a tight race, so he's like, I need some bench points. So he picked up Jordan Mason off the bench, because off of waivers, to add him to his team just for bench points, just in case he needed him. And so, that's what happens. When you have an injury-prone running back like McCaffrey's been, if let's just assume McCaffrey was on somebody else's team, you would always want to handcuff, the backup running back. Rusty didn't do that. He didn't feel the need to do that. So Cody's like, oh my God, he should probably be really good. He may even be a starter, but really, I'm just going to put him on the bench. And so Cody picks him up. Solid pickup. Honestly, probably the pickup of the year, and it's week 1. So I can't play out the next 17 weeks, 16 weeks, but yeah, solid pickup there. I don't know if it can be beat the rest of the year. Good move. So mixing the sauce versus Willie Nelson. Now this is Kane Rice versus Fat Fingers Willie. Kane wins this. Mixing the sauce wins 110-99. It really was at this point. I'm 3-0, and I'm feeling pretty solid about myself as I'm analyzing these games. And I mean, it was really never real close there. I mean, 99-110, but mixing the sauce pretty much had it. But poor mixing the sauce. He didn't even know how to celebrate it. He's never been alone in his life. He he has a twin brother, and when they were little kids, he said they used to go by double trouble. That's what he said. Oh yeah, we were always double trouble. That's what he would say. And so he's never really got to experience a lot in his life because he always had to split it with other people. He doesn't know how to win gracefully. I'm sure he's celebrated a lot, but good win this time. Double trouble. He did pull that out. Red Nuts versus DeMartiac Arrest. This one I actually lost. And to be honest, I just probably sided with against Red Nuts because he's real solid communicator in the league. Always responding to threads and text messages, and always real involved in trading and all that. So I thought he would lose. Turns out he did, and he won pretty big. He won by 18 points. So I can do that math because it's 18. I beat Billy Jack BJ Triple BJ. I beat him so bad I can't even do the math real fast. But Red Nuts does pull it out 100-82. So I don't know. Sometimes you have up and down years. I know it's week 1. Will is trending towards not being good because he's hasn't won a game this year. Bye week versus rebuilding season. This one was actually tough for me to call, trying to decide who was going to be better because they're both one's non-existent. One has been rebuilding his team, as I stated in the last video, for 5 years. It's not good. I actually thought rebuilding season was going to pull it out. He lost 87-82, so bye week did win it. Ross, good for you. Uh, I mean, Mitchell, he's obviously just, I know it's week one, anything could happen, but it does appear with your low scoring efforts, you're still rebuilding. As a matter of fact, you guys tied. You tied for the lowest score in the league. So Will, usually solid, um, tied for the lowest score with rebuilding season, who's still rebuilding. And if you put it in perspective, and I realize this is just week one, I, DeMartiak arrest, Will, you may not even win this week. I don't even know if I can call it. Let's just move forward to what it is. I'll give you the recap here. Not that was the recap. Let's move forward to week two. And let's see what we got here. The first matchup, because it's on my computer, so I'm always the first matchup. But it's Mixing the Sauce versus Tatanka Blanco, which is myself. I'm actually projected to lose this one, 105-102. But as I previously stated, ESPN, sometimes they smoke crack. I mean, you guys have seen what they're not even all about sports anymore. You know about them. They smoke doobies around there. So I'm going to guess they were pretty high when they made that score, that projection. So it's 105-102. As we all know, projections doesn't really matter. And since this one's so close, it really could be called either way. He does have Patrick Mahomes. He does have Joe Mixon. Now I'm rolling Josh Allen, and so him and Patrick Mahomes probably a wash. To be honest, he does have Joe Mixon, and if Joe Mixon is going to get 25 carries a week, this could probably get scary for me. Josh Jacobs, he's questionable this week. Not. It was an okay day. I expected a lot more touchdowns. I thought that was going to happen. As it shakes out, and I was probably wrong. I picked Tank Dell, by the way. He's one of my receiving cores, without boring anybody else who may see this outside of the league, though this is only for the league. I picked up Tank Dell because a lot of people at draft day, they're like, "Oh, he's the number 2 receiver." Well, okay, but he's not, and he's not the number 2 receiver, as we clearly saw. And I think it's even questionable moving forward the rest of the year whether Nico Collins is actually the number 1 receiver based on 1 week. It sure seems like they throw a guy who has been an only number 1 receiver since being in the league 2 touchdown passes. So, as I'm looking at this, it's such a close projection. I believe, looking at it, CeeDee Lamb didn't have a big day. Aaron Jones, I mean, he's got a lot of players to look at. My tight end, Evan Ingram's very suspect. Guys, this is going to be a tough one. But I'm playing a pretty guy. I'm playing double trouble this week. Oh, they only call us double trouble. That's what you shouldn't even tell people that out loud. They call you double trouble, you and your brother. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it a lot. Just looking at it really quick. Oh man, this is actually a very tight score. I'm going to give it to me. I'm probably going to take the win this week, and nobody's really shocked by it, though. The projection looks close, but it's not. We're not really shocked. I'm going to take myself. I'll probably win that by about 10, to be honest. The next game is DeMartiak arrest, which is Will versus Willie Nelson. Kyle Brooks, Fat Fingers, as he's been called on the show. The projection is 103 for DeMartiak arrest, 97 for Willie Nelson. Just thumbing through this, Anthony Richardson had a big day. Derrick Henry didn't have the day I thought. Breece Hall did pretty good. I'm just bouncing back and forth between their 2 lineups as I'm talking out loud, making the projections. 54% of the ESPN, and as we know, they probably smoke doobies sometimes, but 54% they took Will, and I would lean towards Will almost any day of the week. He did let me down last week. Terribly let me down. It's never happened. So only because there's a chance right now, Will, you don't have a win on the year. You could be in a down year. I am going to actually take Will again for this one. And to be honest, I don't think it's going to be too far off the projections. He's supposed to win by 6. I'm going to guess he wins by 11. I'm going to go 11. That's what Will's going to win by. Taking DeMartiak arrest on that one. Next, we have Wrecking Crew versus Nixon Effect. This is an interesting matchup because Wrecking Crew is usually pretty good. Billy Jack, BJJ, triple BJ. Nixon Effect, he started off pretty hot last year. Actually, I don't remember if he started off terrible and then midway was hot. Whatever. He ended up being a so-so player. This one, their quarterbacks, Wrecking Crew has Baker Mayfield. which that's never been fantasy relevant in the history of fantasy football until last year. And let's just see if he keeps it going. But Lamar Jackson for Nixon Effect, which, by the way, it's funny. Last week, Nixon Effect started Jared Goff over Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson scored 27 points. Jared Goff had I can't spit it off. It's not on the screen. He did not score 27 points. And as I said, Nixon Effect so bad last week. I think his lineup is terrible. Like one of his starting running backs is from Denver for a guy I've literally never heard of, and I play fantasy football. That's sad. I mean, is that Jaleel White? Was that Steve Urkel? Well, okay, what up, Urk? Okay, he's got Urkel starting, but Jaleel is his name. Jaleel White, Urkel. I'm taking Wrecking Crew on this. The projections for Wrecking Crew is 103 to 94, 57%. I think Wrecking Crew probably wins this one based off of last week, though he's going to get more points because he's starting Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, is questionable right now. Probably a little tighter game. Just guessing. I'm gonna take it probably 85 to 96 Wrecking Crew. I guess that's 11 too. I think Wrecking Crew takes this one. Metcalf for Pitts rebuilding season. This is Rusty Norton versus Mitchell Bentley. Listen, guys, this is a snooze fest. There's a lot of snooze. That sometimes, well, there's not a snooze fest like this maybe the rest of the year, or if these two play again. But this is definitely a snooze fest here. I'll just give you an example. I'll give you an example. The projections, as we say, doesn't mean anything unless it's projected very lopsided. Listen to this. As the last video that I made, Metcalf for Pitts, I clearly said it's the worst player in the league. And then I stuttered around with rebuilding season. I'm like, he's top 3. Okay, now that they're playing, the projection score is 91 to 65. I haven't seen a projected 65 score without somebody not being in the lineup, maybe ever. This could be the worst projection I've ever seen on fantasy football. So Metcalf for Pitts is projected to be Mitchell rebuilding season by a lot. I'm going to take Metcalf for Pitts, no doubt. This could be flip-flopping. Metcalf for Pitts, this is big for you. He could be climbing the ladder. I know you lost last week, and sometimes you lose on the seasons, but you're going to be at least 500 one time this year, and I think this is it right here. I'm taking Metcalf for Pitts. Neither one are high scores, so let's go 58 to 80. That's what I'm saying. Metcalf for Pitts. Congratulations, Rusty, for finally manning up, really becoming somebody. And then the last game we got Red Nuts versus Bye Week. Two guys who they both won last week. Previously, I've stated they don't respond in thread text messages or. I can't even believe they set their lineups, as I've said, and I got to stop bagging on them, to be honest. Bye Week actually had a pretty good year last year. So did Red Nuts. They took it deep into the season, and then they kind of fell off. So they're pretty good, and their teams are projected. Red Nuts 96, Bye Week's projected 100. I mean, it's 48 to 52. Obviously, Bye Week is percentage-wise. That's the projection. Just looking at their lineup, Bye Week has C.J. Stroud. The other has Joe Burrow, who listen, Joe Burrow, it's possible that he just was a flash in the pan. I realize he won a Heisman Trophy, but there's other people who's been in the league. Deshaun Watson, remember when he was in the league at first and he was pretty hot for the Texans, and now he's terrible, literally terrible. So Joe Burrow's possibly him and Deshaun Watson, minus their legal troubles, is the same person. Possibly, if he can't light it up. I mean, he has a whole receiving core of awesome people, couldn't light it up. He had Joe Mixon last year, couldn't do anything with it. I don't know, man. Just based on that, I'm actually going to go Bye Week for what I'm looking at. All the way, I'm going Bye Week. Because if Joe Burrow does light it up for once and he throws it to Jamar Chase, every time Burrow scores, Jamar Chase does. Bye Week wins this. I think Bye Week wins this by probably, let's just go 8 points. Bye Week a winner. So, I mean, those are my projections. I mean, that's what it is. That's where we stand. Hit the waiver wires. I don't think there's much out there, but definitely Rusty's 0-1 for having terrible fantasy strategies. And so, let's hit it and see what happens. One other thing to remember, I guess it doesn't affect everybody, just whoever has Mark Andrews. Maybe Isaiah Likely's a guy. Maybe that's who you got to look for. He's already been picked up on waivers. And to be honest, I didn't do my diligence before I started this, so I don't know who got him. But that's it for the week. Thanks for listening. Just remember, one day you could be this good. And, sometimes people turn it around late. So, Rusty, you could be the new Joe Flacco. Well, except for Joe Flacco was actually good there for a minute. So I don't know who you could be. You can be you could be Geno Smith. You're Geno Smith, Rusty. All right, you guys have a good week.